Hi there, everyone. We've been reading a lot of Ripple case studies lately to see how real customers use the company's goods. I've been having trouble with this too. I keep thinking about the heavyweight winners, like the huge banks that are the absolute giants of the financial world. But this question keeps coming up. What is $1 million for? Why aren't these big institutions using XRP on a large scale right now? Really, where is Bank of America with their XRP integration? If Ripple is such a revolutionary and highly effective answer, and XRP is said to be the way of the future for payments, then why isn't it being widely used everywhere? That's exactly what we'll talk about today. The thing is, we do have case studies that show these players working with Ripple. It's clear that they use services like Ripple Payments and Protection Solutions. Things get interesting when it comes to XRP, though. Let me explain this to you. The big banks wake up call. That's why I've been reading things like this one. It was changed just in July of this year. The big news is that 12 banks are using XRP. That sounds good, right? We're talking about some very good players. A lot of banks like Kotak, Mandalay Bank, BTEC, Instagram, Rack Bank, American Express, Standard Chartered, MUFG Bank, CIBC, and Santander, PNC Bank, and American Express. It all sounds great on paper when you read it. Some examples are how SBI uses XRP with Ripple's on-demand funding solution, and how Santander uses NFTs and XRP. But here is my wake-up call. Where is the real useful use? We keep hearing about this big adoption, but where is it? I'm going to tell you the truth like it is. In my opinion, almost none of these players are really using XRP in a useful way. Which brings up the obvious question, why the hell not? The reason given by the SEC is no longer valid. At first you might think, well, it's clear that the Ripple SEC case is holding everything back. Not right. The case was over at the beginning of August, so that's no longer an excuse. It's done. It's done. That's it for now. To the point. What's going on here if it's not the fun with the SEC? The puzzle of 7 years. What's really weird is this. Ripple has worked with big banks for more than 7 years. I have records from that far back that show a lot of these banks and many others that were said to be on board. In the past, Ripple even had a public list of all these big banks on their website. We asked the same question back then, though, years ago. If these banks really do use XRP, then why isn't the price going through the roof? Use your brain to think about it. There should be supply spikes if there was real demand from these huge institutions, right? Because of simple supply and demand economics, the price should be going through the roof, but it's not. Which brings us back to the main point. Do these banks really use XRP in a useful way? This is a new list from Medico that includes some new items I've bought recently. It really is a pretty long list of banking institutions. We're also seeing those mysterious NDAs and different kinds of statements. There is finally some real progress. Now, though, things start to get interesting. Do you remember that news about DBS Bank and Franklin Templeton? Here's where some real-world XRP uses start to appear, and time is everything in this case. This is going to happen after the SEC case is over, which was in early August. Now we're finally seeing some real changes. Of course, DBS Bank isn't a small player. They are absolutely huge. Now the question is whether we have finally reached a turning point where XRP will be used by a lot of people. Let's find out more. Real-world uses for XRP are beginning to show up. We've talked about DBS Bank before, and what they're doing now is pretty interesting. Tokenized assets and stablecoins are being used to power repo markets. The best part is now here. On the XRP record, all of this is being turned into tokens. This is about SGDZED, and it will be listed on DBS's digital exchange, where it will make interest and create new places for people to buy and sell cryptocurrency. That's a pretty cool use case, right? But now the truth comes out. This is only the start. Building blocks are being put in place, but we still have to wait for it to grow. Then what about all those other banks that have been building up around Ripple for years? There are more people starting the game. Look at this. BBVA is a new member to our group. We're not talking about a small fish here. What they do best is parenting services. Now, this is very important to understand. Tokenization is also used in custody. We already know that Ripple has been working hard to get the XRP system used for tokenization. It's possible that this means XRP is tapped in a big way. We won't see this on a huge scale just yet, though, because it's still early on. Or take a look at this deal between RLUSD and BNY Global. That's BNY Mellon. This is another great use case, but this one is about custody for now. The question of the $1 million. What is stopping XRP? So, this is what's making me crazy. What is really stopping a lot of people from using XRP? A lot of big names have already said they will work with Ripple. Get this. Someone from Ripple told us that their customer list has more than 500 businesses on it. 500. So why isn't the price of XRP going through the roof? That being said, why aren't huge amounts of XRP being used everywhere? This is my idea, and I believe it to be true. The real deal was the SEC case. Do you remember when the SEC case was over? We started seeing more announcements like the ones I've been showing you almost right away. There's no chance about it. When Ripple basically said, we're done pursuing this part of the SEC case, in March, that's when we started seeing more acquisitions and growth around XRP. There was no denying the effect. But here's the thing. It's not clear yet how crypto will be regulated everywhere. This is clear information just for XRP. Crypto as a whole is still not controlled very much. Ripple's plan for regulating itself. Let me show you something cool now. Back in July, Brad Garlinghouse talked about the nature of the digital asset market at a Senate Banking Committee meeting. Pay attention to what he said. To make sure the US becomes the crypto capital of the world, I ask you to make passing market structure laws for digital assets a top priority. As a voice for the crypto industry, I ask you to make it a top priority to get market structure legislation for digital assets passed through this committee and the full Senate. This will give the US the rules and regulations it needs to become the crypto capital of the world. When digital asset market structure laws are made official in the US, they will start a new era of US competitiveness and make financial transactions much more efficient, which will greatly benefit both consumers and companies. The people at Ripple want this to happen, and we're excited to work with you to make it happen.